What's going on, everyone? So, the San Antonio Spurs are 4-5 on the season. Not the greatest start, obviously, but given the circumstances, this is kind of a development year. They're not planning on winning an NBA championship this year. They're not looking to be the 1 seed in the NBA this year. This is about just the patience, growing the young guys, and, trying to win as many games as possible, of course, but not being a 22-win team, right? They want to be a team that pulls out 40 wins, hopefully, or somewhere in that ballpark. And they're headed in the right direction, right? They're a game shy of 500, but they just got some good news. So, Devin Vassell, he has been out. He's been dealing with injury, and it looks like Devin Vassell will be back to play on Saturday. So, per Shams, Devin Vassell, the Spurs' second leading scorer a season ago, 19.5 points, will make his season debut at home on Saturday versus Utah. Sources tell ESPN. Spurs won tonight on the first contest of a 5-game homestand. So, again, Spurs have a real opportunity, even without Devin Vassell, have a real opportunity to get to 5-5, which would be fantastic for them, and beating the Utah Jazz. And then if you can get Devin Vassell, he can start getting in a rhythm. Obviously, right, he's had some time off. He's ramping up, working out towards getting on the basketball court. No one's expecting him to come out and just, be fantastic right out the gate. I wouldn't even be surprised if they maybe bring him off the bench for a couple games. Something like that, kind of just let him get his legs under him, kind of let him get his feet under him. But this is great, right? For a team that is trending up and looking good and feeling confident and ready to go in on Saturday to try to get to 500. And Chris Paul, Victor Wembanyama, Champagnie is having a great season. Like, he's looking, everything that I talked about this in the offseason and then throughout preseason, that Champagnie, right? Like, he's playing some really good basketball on both sides of the basketball. And with Jeremy Sohan being out, right? Big blow. He was really having a nice season for them. I know every time I talk about Jeremy Sohan, like, Spurs fans seem to be either or. Like, they're either like, yes, he's the future, or they're like, get this guy off our team, he's a bum, which I always find funny. But he's having a good season, right? He was having a really good season, and it was a tough blow. But it was always kind of that question of like, okay, what is the lineup with Devin Vassell? When Devin Vassell gets back, how are they going to operate, right? Because obviously Chris Paul, Harrison Barnes, and Victor Wembanyama, those are your three. Who are your other two when Devin Vassell gets back? Well, obviously Devin Vassell, and then, okay, are you going with Jeremy Sohan? Are you going with Champagnie? I personally was in the camp and believed that you should go with Champagnie, right? I made videos during preseason where I talked about if Champagnie can translate into the regular season, then I think that you have to keep him and reward him with being your starter, right? I think that he has earned it thus far. And you've seen exactly what you want to see. Like, everything he showed you in preseason, he has shown you thus far during the regular season. And I just think you need to keep that, right? Because he very likely could be your small forward for not only now, but the future. And I kind of like that, the 4-out with Harrison Barnes and kind of the looks that you can do there, the switchability, right, the versatility that you have with that team, with that unit, and then you add in a Devin Vassell to kind of give you that uptick in scoring. And look, Devin Vassell is not going to ever have an easier time than he will playing alongside Chris Paul, right? Now, obviously, it's going to, I would imagine, be a bit of an adjustment, right? Because Chris Paul, ball in his hand, point guard, he's probably the best with that on the team, right? Not saying that Vassell won't get the ball at times and be able to just cook and go do what he does best, but I'm sure there will be an adjustment to him kind of maybe potentially, we'll have to see, but potentially playing a little more off ball with Chris Paul, kind of running a two-man game that way. Obviously, Chris Paul and Victor Wembanyama continue to grow and develop and working on their abilities. So I'm excited to see kind of how the Spurs look and how they kind of shape up as you move into the continuation of the season, right? How does Devin Vassell kind of slot in? My hope with Vassell is we kind of start seeing him take that next leap, right? So, again, 19.5 points. Can he get to that like 23 to maybe 25 range, right? He's at 19.5. Can he kind of take that leap? 23, ideally 25, which in concept, right, in theory, it's only another 3 or, 3 in a bucket, 2 more free throws, right? So if he can kind of get that uptick, especially playing alongside Chris Paul, who's going to feed him, who's going to, when he is off ball and he is looking to kind of catch and shoot, or he is looking to attack the closeout and things like that, Chris Paul is going to get him the ball where he needs it. Chris Paul is going to put him in the best position possible to have the most success. And I think that that'll go a long way for a young player like Devin Vassell as he continues to grow and develop. Obviously, defensively, I'd like to see him even kind of buy in a little more, kind of have a bit of an uptick defensively as well. I would rather see him be better defensively and stay around 18 to 19 points a game than him go to 23, 25 and, still have kind of the inconsistencies at times defensively, right? Because that's what they need, right? They need that balance. And, if you could have a Chris Paul, if you could have with Champagnie and his ability to defend and kind of what you've seen from him, which, again, he hasn't been perfect. He's had his moments. He's out of position at times and, gambles and stuff like that. But if you can kind of have this team buy in on the defensive side with Vassell kind of coming in and giving you, 19 a game, that's huge. Any team missing a 19-point-a-game scorer, your second best offensive player, right? Any team would struggle. Any team would hurt, right? So to get that back is huge for this team, especially a young team that, again, has a chance to get to 500, that is looking to try to be the best version of themselves possible this year. And then Devin Vassell can continue to work with Chris Paul, with Harrison Barnes, right? I would love to see Chris Paul to kind of unlock him and allow him to see the court in ways that, he previously wasn't able to see it, right? Chris Paul, however you feel about him, the guy is one of the best basketball minds we've ever seen, right? So to just be able to pick off of that, if I'm Devin Vassell, I am your student, right? Please, explain to me this or help me see this, in timeouts. Is there anything you're seeing that you can point me out, right? Is there anything that, maybe you notice that ways that I can attack better or things like that, SGA is a great example. Look at what SGA to this day still credits Chris Paul for his growth and still works out with Chris Paul regularly. SGA had an interview in the offseason. I don't remember quite when, but it was it was over a month or so ago. It was a while ago. And he even talked about how he's still in the offseason, will go to Chris Paul's house and work out with him and just pick his brain and just continue to talk and find ways to grow and develop, right? He credits Chris Paul with his growth. And you saw it. Even, Dennis Schroeder and guys like that, you saw what they were able to do and accomplish under Chris Paul and kind of take those strides. With a guy like Chris Paul, I think all of our guards can really learn, right? Obviously, the Spurs dealing with some injuries, right? Trey Mann, you had now Jeremy Sohan, right? Even Pop, right? Pop, rest up Pop. Hopefully he's back on the sideline sooner rather than later. There are some concerns with his medical, and hopefully he can kind of get right, take your time. Obviously, you don't want to see him rush back and, him being out or worse, right? Take time, get healthy, get right. But until then, what would make Pop feel happy? If he came back to a team with a winning record, right? If they're 7-5, or 8-6 or something like that by the time he comes back or whenever he comes back, right? It's a great spot, right? I imagine Pop feel pretty good and be pretty excited. Obviously, again, losing Jeremy Sohan for, several weeks or however long it takes, because I imagine the Spurs will be patient to make sure they take their time in his recovery. But until then, I do think Devin Vassell coming back is going to be huge for this team. You add in a Champagnie, you add in, Chris Paul and Victor Wembanyama. Wemby's kind of had his inconsistencies, right? He hasn't been super efficient. I've talked about, I don't like the amount of 3-point attempts he is taking. If he was, 36, 37, 38% from 3, then sure, but he's not. And that kind of bothers me, right? He's shooting 30% from 3, right? I'm not saying don't take threes, because it is part of his game and you want him to continue to grow and develop that. You want to have him be that versatile weapon, a guy that could just score anywhere on the basketball court. But, he's such a mismatch. 10 in. Right? As long as he's 10 feet in, his wingspan is long enough to just, Space Jam, long arm it over everybody. Right? So, again, I'd like to kind of see him and kind of run some actions to just get him closer to the basket at times and, get him ahead of steam to where you just kind of dump down. He could just go to work and operate. But nonetheless, again, right, it's a learning process. It's a learning curve. They're all kind of working through their things. And I do think that they'll be fine. But excited to see how this all looks, how this all kind of shapes up with Devin Vassell added to the fold, added to the mix. But as always, this is a discussion, and I pass a question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Are you excited for the Spurs? Are you excited Devin Vassell is coming back? Do you think that he'll kind of take a next step, kind of take a leap this season? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.